Okay, I've got so many thoughts to share about this book, about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I want to divide this video into two parts with no spoilers and spoilers so that everyone could actually watch it when they're interested. We'll obviously start with the non-spoiler part, surprise. And what I want to begin with is the structure of the book. So the book is divided into three parts, just like all the three books of the original trilogy, and each part consists actually of 10 chapters, not 9. I'm actually surprised because I was expecting that every part would be divided into 9 chapters. I thought that Susan Collins had this weird fetish of putting number 3 everywhere she could, but maybe it was just me. What is surprising, the book is written in the third-person narrative, unlike the original trilogy, and it's also written in the past tense. What first came into my mind when I grabbed this book and I saw this additional cover, I thought it looked like some kind of chronicles, and I don't know if that was the purpose, but you kind of get that feel when you read the book and you hear just this sound of this book. Or maybe I'm just being weird. So maybe that's why the book is written in the past tense, so as to give us some kind of vibe of like history of Panem. And the title. So, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The name is not a coincidence. This book is a one big ballad. It does feel like one big ballad. What actually crossed my mind when I was reading this book is, oh my god, like you have to take this title literally. I kept reading and I had a hunch that everybody's name was connected to birds, like President Ravenstill, Lucy Gray Bird, the Dovecotes. And as much as I don't have a lot of positive things to say about this book, I want to focus on them first. I'm really glad that Susan Collins incorporated some humor, just like she did with the original trilogy. We had moments like Coriolanus talking about Fabricia Whatnot, about the Dean High as a Kite Longbottom. What the fuck? That's Harry Potter. About the Dean High as a Kite Bottom, the riddle of Dr. Gall Hibbity Hoppity, Turban Canville, and you know that reference to Kiss My Ass in one of the songs. And yeah, one more reference to the title, there's actually a lot of music. And I kind of like what Susan Collins did with music in this book. But to get to that part, you have to wait until the spoiler part. And what I can tell you that was interesting in this book without giving out spoilers is that we find out what's the day of the reaping, how post-war capital was dealing with things, how people tried to survive after the war, what their mindset was in terms of violence and the war itself. And we get to see the face of capital that we didn't see in the original trilogy. How the game started, how the games were perceived, how various aspects of the games changed throughout the history, and also the way that the capital treated the tributes. And that's about it. We're getting to the negative part now. I had seen some of the reviews out there before reading the book, and actually I was really hoping that I wouldn't feel the same way, but I do. Apart from what I have mentioned, there is nothing really more to it in terms of things that could possibly be interesting to you as a Hunger Games fan, and we don't really get that much of action even in terms of the games, and most of the book is actually boring adventures of someday to be President Snow. I don't know what your opinion is about this, but let me share mine. I started off reading the first part really excited about the book because that had been my dream for Susan Collins to somehow continue this franchise. And I binge read the first 100 pages and not much was happening. Now I get that the book is 500 pages long, but at the same time, we get the perspective of someone from the capital. There's still so much that can be told after the games. I had an impression that the moments that didn't really matter, like Coriolanus' material status, were elaborated on too much, and then the important parts when something was happening were just rushed. And this is kind of what we're getting in the second part during the games. Whenever in the game something happened, it just happened within like 1 or 2 pages. It just gets rushed, and we don't really get really good descriptions of it, whereas we have been waiting for the whole chapter for something to happen. And then as soon as the new chapter kicks off, the plot slows down. Not to mention the whole third part, that in my opinion was such a failure. Now, please don't get the wrong impression. If you like the book, I'm really happy for you, but this is not what I had expected. Not only in terms of how the things unwind, but also in terms of the dynamics. And just like I told you, I binged the first 100 pages, and then my excitement started dropping gradually. But in the third part, I just got so demotivated and just put away the book, and I didn't pick it up for a few days. But then I was like, okay, you just gotta finish this book, get this over with. Let's see what the book has in store. Because the endings in the original trilogy were always a big wow. There was something that made you want more. I picked up where I had left off, which was chapter 25 or something, and I managed to read like 2 chapters a day because it was too much. I finally finished it and I really, really got disappointed. I got to the epilogue, which I thought I can't give away what I thought it would be about without giving away spoilers. So for those who haven't read the book and don't want to hear the spoilers, we're gonna move to the spoiler part. Now, welcome to the spoiler part. That's my transition. It's a low budget channel, so suck it up. So the character of Snow is rather predictable and there's no big surprises that you can anticipate from him. And he really didn't surprise me that much, apart from the fact that he cheated in the games and tried to help the girl. But then it was obvious that he was actually doing it for the win, not for the girl, not for anybody else, but for himself. And as much as he tries to cover it up with good intentions, we know what he's all about. And what really, really rattles my cage is that he keeps saying that he's also in the arena, that Lucy Gray is not there alone, that he's with her all the times and he's partaking in the games. Like he's the contestant. You can't even compare, girl. And of course, we find out that Coriolanus is very cynical and a hypocrite because he keeps calling Dr. Gall a psychopath with no boundaries, and he keeps judging her for being bad to the bone. Well, she is though. But in the end, he's the one who's been killing people around. And he, of course, keeps making excuses that he's doing for the greater good, that's how it's supposed to be. He betrays his friend Sejanus. And actually, honestly, throughout the whole book, I was just waiting for it to happen. Now a little bit about the games. They weren't nearly as good and organized as I had expected. And of course, it does make sense that Susan Collins portrayed it this way. It was actually, I was in the wrong. I had assumed that the games had always been well organized and so on and so forth. Whereas we find out it's been a process and the games haven't always been what the capital claims they have. And I'm so pissed off that there was no switch of perspective. We could have seen the games from the inside. It would have been much more interesting. And we don't really want to see what's in Coriolanus' mind because, you know, he's very predictable. And I think I would have been more excited if I could see the part of the book, at least the second part of the book, and maybe the third part of the book from the girl's perspective, because then I could actually get absorbed by this book and, you know, see it from the point of view of Lucy Gray and say like, no girl, don't trust him, we know he's bad, he's going to screw you over. But we just get the boring perspective of Coriolanus Snow, and we already know what's in his head. And I think that Lucy Gray is a much more interesting character, much more complicated and complex. And I actually expected her affection towards Coriolanus to be a scam, which of course did not happen, but you know, a lot of things in the games were rushed. We got a lot of descriptions of the inside of the capital, and even during the games we just get to read about Coriolanus' feelings, about his material status, about his need to get the scholarship, about his distrust towards the capital and his classmates. But I wasn't there for this. So yeah, Lucy Gray manages to be the winner of the 10th annual Hunger Games, and we get to the part 3, where Coriolanus gets sent away to District 12 as a punishment for his cheating in the games. And that's it. And that's actually where all the good parts kind of end. We have 200 pages of the book left, and there's literally like 2 or 3 moments that keep you excited and thrilled. I was very surprised by the end of each chapter because we are used to having a big blow up at the end of every chapter in Susan Collins' books. But in that part, you know, the big reveal or whatever that might be, at the end of every chapter are moments like Sejanus appearing in this District 12, or someone from District 12 that we don't really even know and we don't even care about gets hung. I think that was chapter 22 or 23, I don't know. But that's really actually what demotivated me a lot. That I kept going through each chapter and there was literally nothing that brought anything new to the table. We receive more of Coriolanus' thoughts about the capital, about the unfairness of the games, about the hostility in the capital, about the war, about violence, about the poverty in District 12, which we have already seen in the original trilogy. It was more of my thoughts that were the fun part, that I started assuming and making up theories in my head, particularly about the songs in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, about the covey, where they came from, why Katniss knew so many songs, and why music was so popular in District 12. And actually, I thought, what if Katniss is the covey? What if she's a descendant of one of them? Huh, that would be amazing. There's a possibility that Lucy Gray is a great aunt of Katniss. Crazy, isn't it? And if we are talking about the escape plan of the rebellions and Sejanus, I'm really wondering if they were actually planning to go to District 12. To District 13. But they don't know that it's District 13, they just know that there are people in the north. And I think that District 13 was north from District 12, wasn't it? So my theory is that they tried to escape and go to District 13. And they of course fail due to Coriolanus, of course, because a freaking traitor. So we are at the end of the book where Coriolanus finds out that he got admitted for some kind of elite program, which will be his way out of District 12. But since he's scared that the murder weapons that he used to kill other people, he decides to escape with Lucy Gray, who is also getting tormented by the mayor of District 12. On their way to the lake, Lucy Gray finds out that Coriolanus is the one who betrayed his friend and got him killed. And by the lake, they find the murder weapons and that were actually the only proof of Coriolanus' murder. Lucy Gray makes up an excuse and she actually decides to hide from Coriolanus. I don't know why she actually decides to hide instead of just running for her life. Like, run bitch, run! There is no way that he's gonna chase you all the way up north just to kill you. However, Coriolanus decides to stay and he needs to get rid of Lucy Gray, who's the only witness of his murders. They run around in the woods, he starts firing shots, he hears her squeak or whatever that was, and then actually never manages to find her. Coriolanus gets back to the capital where he finds out that the whole District 12 experience was just a test. He's going to stay in the capital and study in the academy. Then he talks to the dean and finds out why the dean hates his father and he decides to poison him. And then we finally get to the epilogue, which is, again, not what I had expected. I had expected to see Lucy Gray. I had expected to find out that Lucy Gray survived and she went up north and she found District 13 and she stayed with them. Like, how amazing of an idea would that be? This would keep us one more because we would have the storyline of Lucy Gray open and also we would have a cliffhanger that would make us want to hold on to the hope of Susan Collins releasing yet another book. But apart from that, we just find out that the whole memory of the 10th Hunger Games has been removed. There's actually no remembering of it, which kind of explains why Katniss never knew there was a victor other than her, Peeta, and Haymitch in District 12. Okay guys, so this is it. This is my review of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I would give it 3 out of 5 stars. As much as I'm not satisfied with the book, I was happy to read the second part, the first and the second part, because it was about the games, and there's also an interesting character of Lucy Gray Bird, which also deserves praise. I do believe that this book is giving us a very good opportunity for a really good movie. The movie actually might be much better than the book because the dynamics of this book is more of like the first part of the Mockingjay. except it has more actions that can be incorporated into the movie. So I'm looking forward to seeing the movie. How about you? I want to hear your opinions. Please let me know in the comments what you think happened to Lucy Gray, what you think of the whole insight we got into the couple, if it was enough for you or if it wasn't enough for you. And before I give my final question, please remember to subscribe to my channel, give me thumbs up. And my final question is, where the fuck is President Ravenstill? And does she even play any part in Panem? I don't know, you tell me. Bye bye!